At Nostalgic Video Games, it's no secret that PS2 is one of our biggest sellers. We've got tons of games on the shelf, and by tons I mean tons. Like, a lot. That doesn't even include what we have in the back room. So naturally, we get asked a lot about additional PS2 controllers. Now, when people ask about them, they always ask for OEM, which means Original Equipment Manufacturer. It pretty much just means that it is an official Sony branded controller. Now, as with most other controllers, we really don't get much of an excess of them. When we do, we try to pair them with consoles because if you buy a console, you want it to come with an original controller. But a lot of PS2s are 20 years old at this point, and the controllers we get can be pretty nasty or just not work at all. So every now and then, yes, we'll have some used PS2 controllers out on the shelf for you to purchase, but most of the time, really our only option are these bad boys. Now these are the old school DualShock 2s. We carry a bunch of different products from old school, from cables to controllers, and even their classic or classic U consoles. I've done a couple videos on some of their stuff in the past, but this is one I've been meaning to get around to for a while now, because a whole lot of the time, they're really our only option for extra PS2 controllers, and most people just aren't aware of them. So I'm gonna give you a rundown of the quality here. First things first, our price. These things are going to run you $14.99, which for an additional controller is actually a pretty dang good deal. But of course, as with most third-party controllers, they aren't as high quality as an original controller. But in my opinion, the PS2 and PS1 controllers are relatively simple, so there really isn't anything that's too difficult for these controllers to emulate. Now, as far as form factor goes, right off the bat you can tell that these do look quite a bit different than an original PS2 controller. They're rounded at the top, they've got these kind of like grips on the sides, the buttons look different, and to me the D-pad is the most glaring difference. Another big difference are the thumbsticks. These ones are concave instead of the convex dog-nose textured rubber that the originals are. These also elect to use a more plasticky rubber, and they're pretty smooth. They don't really have that texture. But a good thing is that those dog-nose textured rubber grips actually wear down over time. So if you get an actual used controller, you'll notice that those thumbsticks are pretty shiny, and that's from the rubber breaking down over time. Another thing is that the square X circle triangle thing does look different, and that's because Sony actually has copyrighted your basic preschool shapes. So they actually have to use not the exact same shapes, otherwise they'll get sued. As far as additional features go on these controllers, they do have a turbo function, which I'm a real gamer, I don't use turbo. But when you have a third-party manufactured controller, I always appreciate when they go the extra mile to put an additional feature in their controller that the originals didn't have, like turbo. Again, since this is a third-party controller that is manufactured with different materials, it does feel a little different. So the rubber membranes under the buttons feel a bit more springy and poppy because they're fresh new rubber. But what I do really appreciate is the triggers. A lot of third-party controllers just have, shoulder buttons pretty much for the triggers that just click in once. These do have that sort of travel on it. I don't know the actual gaming term. It's probably something I should look up. Now, just like original controllers, these are wired, and I'm pretty sure these are... That's about 6 feet, I'm 6'2", so you won't have to worry about a short cord pulling your console off the shelf. Now, one of the big things I always get asked when showing people these controllers is, do they vibrate? And yes, they do. You can see inside this translucent plastic that they do have the same kind of DualShock, DoubleShock motors inside of the arms of the controller there. Now, I don't have a way to hook this up to my PC with one of those controller tester utilities because it is a PS1, PS2 plug thingy. Now, just like with all of old school's other controllers, I haven't noticed any button latency or lag, but I do know these are third-party controllers. They aren't quite as tightly manufactured as OEM controllers are. So sometimes your experience can vary just depending on which product you grab off the shelf. Now, just like I said in my GameCube controller video, these aren't going to be your everyday play controllers. If you have an OEM controller, that's the one you're probably going to use. The purpose of these controllers is to fill spots. If you're having some friends over and you want to have, a Battlefront or a COD party, or maybe you've got a game that's 4 players and you want to play with all of your friends. Hey, these controllers are $15 a pop, they don't feel terrible like a Mad Catz controller, and you're going to be able to play with all your friends. Yeah, these might not hold up as well as an OEM controller, but they will hold up and allow you to get a good deal of play with a handful of friends at any kind of party. So if that's what you're looking for, I can heartily suggest the DualShock 2. What's your favorite PS2 game? Man, that's hard. Yeah, I could sit and think about it all day, and my favorite games, what are the best games I played on the PS2, but I don't think any of them will beat the nostalgia of Battlefront 2.
Just like the simulation.
If this video helped you out, let us know by commenting, liking, all that algorithmic appeasing stuff. We've got tons of cool videos on nostalgic video games. We've had a little bit of a drought of content here because we've moved from the studio to the store, so you're going to see a whole lot of videos like this in nostalgic video games, which I'm super excited about. We've also actually been redoing the floor plan here at Nostalgic to just make shopping a whole lot more ergonomic. And if you didn't know, we also have an online store where all of our games, consoles, and accessories are up for purchase to either have shipped to you or you can order for free in-store pickup. These DualShock 2s are on there. So if you clicked on this video looking to order one right now, you could go to the link in our description, order one right now, and buy with confidence, know that you're supporting a small business. Thanks for tuning in to Nostalgic Video Games. We'll see you next time.